Allah has failed Iran. Welcome aboard. So, Jeremy, I want to share a story with you. I just talked to you about it tonight, but Iran is running out of water.
What? A city in the desert runs out of water?
City in the desert has run out of water. So I want to share some of these stories with you. This is from Mother Jones. It just came out the other day. Iran's capital must relocate due to dire water situation. The president insists. There's going to be some problems, though. Here we go. Rationing has begun in Iran's capital city with some of the approximately 10 million residents experiencing nightly pressure cuts between midnight and 5 a.m. The entire country is in an unprecedented drought, facing its driest and hottest autumn in nearly 60 years. Tehran has received no rain at all since the start of September, and no rainfall is expected for the foreseeable future. Iran doesn't get a lot of water from rain. They've been taking water from their lakes and from their underground aquifers. And Iran is the number one sinking country in the world. I think I heard it was 2 feet in the last couple of decades because they pumped all the water out from underground. And so there's nothing to hold the land up.
Yep.
So the land's collapsing.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any idea who might be able to help them?
Well, we talked about this, and I hate to be the smartest guy in the room as far as the podcast is concerned, but if I'm not mistaken, Israel has the ability to help them with desalination and with designing for water reclamation.
Yeah, Israel produces more water than they could ever need. They're probably the number one spot in the world for desalination. I was watching a whole bunch of stuff about it earlier today. They also do 94% reclamation on used water. And they clean it up, they clean it out, and that's used for agricultural use. And then the water that they actually do use in Israel, with farming, it's a 90% efficiency rating in the middle of a desert. They could have totally helped out Iran. How's the relationship between Israel and Iran going right now?
Oh, I think they're best buds, right?
Do you know who is the number one supporter of terrorism throughout the world?
I'm going to go with Iran.
It is Iran. They support Hezbollah. They support Hamas. They did Al-Qaeda. They did a bunch of things. If I'm wrong, I would love for Tehran to come and sue me. And this is not the only story about it. This story is from Middle East Eye. Iran's president says capital must move from Tehran over ecological concerns. Here's another one. This is SCI AM, have no Scientific and American. I've heard of them. Iran's capital is moving. The reason is an ecological catastrophe. So let's take a look at the map of Iran, shall we? By the way, that mouse right there, you can move it if you want to move it.
What? No, you're going to give me power to run the mouse. This is awesome, people. This is awesome. Now. I've been given more power than a 5-year-old should be given.
So let me show you. Here is the Gulf of Oman. Oh, we got to adjust this. Here we go. Here's the Gulf of Oman. And
for you people that might not know this, I didn't know this either, that the Gulf of Oman feeds into the
Persian Gulf.
And I didn't know that.
And this is one of the world's busiest oil waterways. This is how they get the water out.
I completely, a lot of dominoes fell into place and all fell over when you explained that earlier today.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So here's the deal. Right now, Tehran is up here. It's up in the northernmost part of Iran. They want to build a capital city right down here.
Hold on. I just have a dumb question.
Sure.
They are literally right there. I mean, right there. There's water right there.
Yes.
It's right there. Why move down here where there's seemingly same water?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, here's part of the problem. They've run out of water. They've also been building dams left and right.
Okay.
And they've really overdone it. They are the third biggest dam builder in the entire world. And they've done a lot of dumb things. For instance, when you dam up water, it's going to fill up what's around there.
Yes.
And they had water coming down, and they planned to build a dam in this one area. And the environmental studies said, wait a second, there's salt all over this area. What you're going to end up doing if you dam this water, you're going to turn this fresh drinking water that's coming down in rivers into salt water. You can't drink salt water. So what did Tehran do? They built the dam. And what happened? Their fresh water is now unusable salt water. They could have built desalination plants, but guess what Iran has been spending their money on?
Centrifuges for nuclear weapons.
And nuclear weapons and centrifuges take a lot of water.
Yep.
And so they've literally been spending all their money and all their time on weapons of war and making dams that should not have been built that destroy the water, when they could have been spending all that money that they spent on terrorism on desalination plants.
And to be fair, they can't use salt water for any cooling at all, because the salt water, I know this, salt water will corrode all the fragile fins and all that they use for the efficiency of cooling.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah, so they can't use that salt
sense.
water. They can't use that salt water for anything that has to do with cooling for nuclear power or nuclear weapons.
Well, I mean, I just look at it this way. I was thinking this today. Now, I'm spiritual. I'm not super religious. I'm nowhere near what Rabbi Shmuley or Pastor Rick is. You're more religious than me.
Yeah, that's true.
But I was thinking about this, and I looked this up in Genesis. When Abraham accepted God, God gave Abraham a promise. And this is Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. But what has Iran been doing to Israel? I would say Iran has been a very big thorn in Israel's side. And Israel is the one country that could really help them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what do you think it's going to take to make a brand new city down at the bottom over here?
That's the thing I just can't wrap my head around. I mean, it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of millions to billions of dollars.
Trillions.
Well, I mean, a city, they don't exactly have the quality of life that we do. But still, I mean, either way. But you're moving it literally across the country to get to water that you can't drink unless you put a desalination plant in. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around why you can't use the water that is literally right to the north of them.
That's a great question. And the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. And so to look at it, and I'm looking at it, and if Google says it, there's probably water there. There's at least 2 lakes that are decently sized that they're moving by to get to the other side of the country. So I understand that they're probably running out of water. Hell, I mean, Vegas did it once. That's how come the Mandalay Bay had to be pumped full of concrete underneath it, because the middle of the Mandalay Bay sunk because of a water table problem.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they had to.
Have they solved that problem?
Oh yeah, no, that was
water in Vegas.
No, yeah. That was an issue. It was something to do with just the aquifer itself kind of drained. They didn't realize it was there, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But the Mandalay Bay, when they were building it, right where if you're familiar with the Mandalay Bay, it's like 3 wings that all come together in the central spot. Okay. The central spot is obviously very heavy compared to the wings coming out. And the central spot sunk, and I want to say it was 11 inches. So they had to pump concrete into the ground to push it back up and hold it up so that, because they'd lost that aquifer of some sort that was down there that was basically, nobody knew it was there.
Wow.
But yeah, that was years ago. That was back when they were building it. But so, I mean, it exists to shore up the city. It exists, all this stuff. I can't see that this has to have some sort of ulterior motive.
Well, here's the other thing I'm thinking. Even if they can build this city, this capital city in the south, Tehran's basically all but done at this point. They are having problems right now. They've cut people down to, I think it's 50 liters of water per day, and that's just not enough to survive. In order to do this, you would need to build the desalination plants down here. This area happens to be flat, but dry as all heck. It gets no rain. You'd have to put the infrastructure before you could even bring people there. And Tehran, Iran does not have that kind of money. So here's the other thing I was thinking. You're going to have a lot of refugees. You could go from Iran over here to Iraq. How do you think the Iraqis are going to feel about that one?
Probably not too happy.
Well, how do you think their relationship's going?
Well, I'm not that great at all this, but I don't think it's very good.
Oh, no. Iran and Iraq were at war against one another for decades.
I was going to say, this is that Stone Age war, isn't it?
Yeah, but they were gassing each other.
Yeah.
They were using chemical weapons. You could go to Saudi Arabia, but they're not going to want the Iranians.
Kuwait's not going to be too happy either.
Kuwait, no, is not going to happen.
Afghanistan
and Pakistan. Afghanistan is a complete wasteland. I mean, they've got lots of rare earth minerals, but as far as being able to take care of what they have now, who wants to go to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Pakistan, complete psychotic mess. So then you're left with Turkmenistan or Azerbaijan.
You know what's funny here, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I am the certified redneck here. I'm looking at that, and half these countries, I didn't even know they existed in that location of the world. I've heard of Azerbaijan. I've heard of Turkmenistan. I've heard of Georgia. I mean, everybody's heard of Georgia. But I'm looking at these and I'm just like, I had no idea they were in those locations of the world. I feel a little stupid today.
Well, now you've learned with teachers and train stations.
That's true.
And if you really appreciate what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and here is the most exciting part of it. Beg, Jeremy. Beg.
Please please comment. I get a bowl of rice each day if you like and comment,
and that's all you get.
That's all I get. And if none of you like and comment, I just go hungry. And I do have one more question.
Sure.
Why is Turkey spelled like that on your map?
I don't know. I guess that's how you spell it in Turkey-Canese. I have no clue.
Okay.
It's language translation. Turkey, I guess, is how they pronounce it in Turkey. Apparently, they don't speak English as the first language in most of these countries.
I get that, but Syria is spelled the way we'd spell it. Iraq is spelled the way Jordan is spelled the way we'd spell. Kuwait spelled. Saudi Arabia is spelled. Turkey, no.
You're right. It doesn't matter how much I zoom in. It just
Georgia
doesn't matter.
is spelled the way we spell it. Turkey, no. So I was just wondering.
Who is this from? Google. Hey, Google, get your act together. Spell Turkey the right way.
Real quick, just scroll on over. What's the Gulf of America spelled right now?
Oh, you want to check that out?
Just scroll on over.
We'll scroll on over. Why not?
We've already derailed this as absolutely bad as we could have.
Gulf of America.
It is the Gulf of America.
It is the Gulf of America.
So then why isn't Turkey spelled like us rednecks know it to be?
Well, you know what's interesting? I would guess. Look at the Gulf of America, and it's the Gulf of America. Yeehaw!
To be fair,
look how much is part.
I was going to say,
look how much coastal area you have from Mexico and the Gulf of America versus the United States.
And we just had this discussion, and it's very unscientific and very not correct. Probably is that it was my understanding that when you have shoreline disputes, it was the one who has the most shoreline that gets to control it.
Not a clue, but I will say this. Do you see what this says right here?
Yes, the Gulf
of California.
But that is because we have always called that area, and I'm pointing, sorry, because I'm not used to having a mouse. We've always called this area part of California, even though it wasn't legally part of that. Mexico even recognized
in Mexico, they have officially called that Mar de Sur.
I've seen that actually.
Yeah, because Mexico changed it from the Gulf of California to the Gulf of. A couple of decades ago, I think.
Yeah, because I remember seeing
so
that on some nautical
we changed it
maps.
to Gulf of America, and you know what? The last thought of this, last comment of this. Going back to Iran.
Sorry.
I truly
get all
hope.
choked up about this.
You swallowed wrong.
Bad chunk of air.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
I hope that the United States is not dumb enough to bring these people to the United States.
Well,
because these people, culturally, they're not going. I mean, the Iranians that have come here tend to be the smart ones. The ones that are left, many of them, they truly hate America. And I'm sorry, certain beliefs are not compatible with Western ideology, and Iran is just not compatible with Western ideology.
I had a friend in college who I went to school with, and he was from this little area right here. And I was told, well, he told me, that they were smuggled out. His family had backed the wrong people, and they were smuggled out and defected, I guess would be the right term, to America. And they were allowed to come to America because of that.
He was with the smart group.
Well, the interesting thing is he once said, and he said, it's just a culture thing. He said, you can't fault people for culture.
No,
it is what it is. And he had said that you got to understand, he said, people in these regions, they're convinced 99% of the time that somebody is out to get them, that they're always going to be the one that's on the low side. And he said, even if you're going to give somebody something for free, we're going to haggle about it. It's just our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you take a bunch of people that don't trust each other and are convinced they're going to be on the low side of the deal, and you put them all together, it's kind of like taking a bunch of people and putting them in apartments. You're going to have more problems in that small little area.
I agree.
And so, you know, I'm not against bringing people, and this is where me and Seth will differ. I'm not against bringing people from Iran or Iraq or Syria or Jordan or Saudi Arabia, anybody to America. Like I said, I've always said, put up a wall, put up a gate. That's all I care. A door.
Well, I agree with legal immigration, but here's the problem. We take in so many people. We take in more people as refugees than the entire rest of the world.
But I think we do that because we're better than the rest of the world.
Everybody
recognize that.
Everybody wants to come here.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to come here. I don't see very many people leaving the United States for other countries. It does happen. I have brothers that have left for Israel, 2 of them. But you know what? For the most part, the vast majority of people on the planet would love to come to the United States. But in doing so, you have to assimilate to our culture.
I'm going to use, actually, it's funny you say that. I have 2 very close people. One moved to Canada, and he had to assimilate. He came from Canada, came to America, lived in America for decades, has gone back to Canada. And he has had to assimilate to that, which I think is interesting. He didn't come into Canada and say, I'm an American and this is the way it needs to be. Now, maybe his views were more Canadian anyway. But then I have another friend whose child has moved to France. And they're assimilating to France. They didn't come in and go, well, here's my 10-gallon hat and here's my pistol.
Yeah, they're not
You
waving
know?
an American flag in Canada and France. You want to assimilate, start waving that flag. So why do people come here and wave their flags? But, just, to sum all this up, I think Iran has one chance to survive, and only one. They need to get on their knees. They need to beg Israel to help them out.
Well,
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I don't know if they have to beg Israel, but they do have to start working with someone. And they have not worked with many people. And so it's interesting that places like Iran, who are sitting there going, no, we hate all of you, we're doing all this, blah, blah, blah. If you would just understand that we're okay, 99% of us in the world are okay with your views. You just need to kind of be okay with ours too.
See, I totally disagree. I totally disagree. I think much of the world is, I'm sorry, just very dumpy. Much of the world is just, I wouldn't even consider going there.
But
and
you don't harbor any ill will.
I don't harbor ill will. I think that many other countries deserve better, but their governments and their cultures are pushing them another way. But like in Iran, I don't want half the population, the female half, being harassed unless they cover their hair or wear a full burqa like they do to people in Iran. I'm sorry. No, that is incompatible with our Western values.
I agree with that statement, but I also agree that we have to let countries decide what they want.
Oh, absolutely. If you want to turn your country into a waterless heck hole where you don't see women, you support terrorism, and the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has turned their back on you, and you're now in a desert wasteland, hey, Iran, enjoy that.
And with that, we'll see you at the next stop. At the end of the day, with the exception of about 20 different people, if I disappeared, no one would notice.
I would very much notice.
You're one of the 20.
It would be teacher in train station.
Yeah,
and that doesn't have the
That's
same
the only
great
reason.
ring.
That's the only reason. You have to drop the S, right?
Absolutely.